Happy full moon, everybody. Today is Thursday, January 28th. I'm recording this video not to talk about the full moon. I am recording it to talk about Mercury retrograde because tomorrow we actually have our first Mercury retrograde of 2021. We'll have three. Tomorrow's the first. And it's for a 3-week period of time. And this is the period of time where Mercury, the messenger of the gods, the communicator, the one that likes to deliver information, is going to appear to be, I should say, because Mercury is not really moving backwards. It's just the perception here from Earth that Mercury is moving backwards. But Mercury will station retrograde from January 30th until February 20th. I should know that. Until February 20th. So the pre-shadow of Mercury retrograde began on January the 15th, which means we already kind of start to feel that energy kicking in, okay? And then the post-shadow phase goes until March 13th. So again, even though Mercury technically stations direct on February the 20th, we're not completely out of the woods yet because the effects of it go on until about March 13th or so. This particular Mercury retrograde they're all powerful, but Mercury is in its exaltation, meaning that it's in a sign that it does very, very well in, which is Aquarius, which is the mind, because Aquarius is an air sign, the air element, which is of the mind. Gosh, I'm choking. I'm sorry. Speaking of communication, I'm choking. So Mercury will be stationing retrograde at 26. It's going to it begins at 26 degrees of Aquarius, and it's going to go all the way to 11 degrees, okay? And then it will station direct. So what does this mean? Well, you think about everything that Aquarius rules over, and it's not just the mind, it's also technology, it's also air travel, it's also group consciousness, communication within the group, okay, with the collective. It's about science, it's about independence, it's about eccentricity, it's about giving answers, bringing things out into the open to be looked at and worked upon in a different way. It's about going out of the box to do certain things. And because Mercury does very well in Aquarius, but it's retrograde. So when Mercury's retrograde by itself in any sign, it's about the areas Mercury rules over, which are communication and travel and technology specifically. They tend to go a little haywire, right? Things get a little spotty. It doesn't mean don't travel at all, or don't sign documents, or don't do this or don't do that. I'm not a big believer in that. I just feel that it means be more conscious. Live your life by all means. Don't just stop doing anything because Mercury's retrograde, but just be a little more mindful. Mercury's the mind. Be a little more mindful about what it is that you're doing, where it is that you're going, what it is that you're signing. I like the retrogrades because I feel it's a period of stepping back and a period of going inward to allow yourself to reflect and reevaluate and realign with your goals and with your projects. And especially communication projects, writing, things of that nature, anything involving information. Now, because like I said, Mercury naturally rules over those areas of travel and communication and technology, Aquarius also is the sign that rules over technology and air travel. So on a normal Mercury retrograde, we would feel a little bit of maybe some delays in those areas or some moments of, annoyance. However, because it's in Aquarius, it's like a double dose of how and when that might happen. So you may want to just remain a little bit extra mindful if you're traveling, give yourself extra time, extra space. And when it comes to communication, most certainly give yourself some extra moments. Practice the pause, right? Practice before you say something or blurt something out and inadvertently offend someone, or say something you didn't mean to say, or divulge information you didn't mean to, okay? This is a time you really want to pull back and practice the pause. So, this is a 3-week period where the mental energy is highlighted because it's Aquarius, but because of that retrograde, it could feel like you're having a harder time getting your point across, except if you're a person that was born during Mercury retrograde, because people that were born during the Mercury retrograde tend to actually have the opposite effect. They do very well during the retrograde. I've had clients that have bought houses during the Mercury retrograde and it's gone seemingly well. And when we looked at their chart, I realized that they were born during a retrograde, so that could explain it. Not all, but most of the time, you'll see that it doesn't affect them the same way because they're the soul is used to that energy. So you think about, right now we're under a lot of fixed energy. So we've got a lot of planets in Aquarius. We've got the sun in Aquarius. We've got Jupiter, we've got Saturn, we've got Mercury, all in Aquarius. Venus is set to move into Aquarius on February 8th. Aquarius is a fixed sign, so fixed. It likes what it likes, it wants what it wants, right? This full moon is in Leo, also fixed fire. So again, we're under fixed energy. And Uranus is in Taurus, which is also fixed earth. So there's a lot of fixed energy right now. And so what happens with that energy, and there's also a lot of frictional aspects taking place with these planets, but yet it's ramping us up. So there's a sense of like, I want to go out the gates running. But yet at the same time, there's like, well, maybe I need to pause. Maybe I need to stop. Maybe I have to think about this. And yes, I would agree with that. This is a time to stop and think about things. There are a lot of hot buttons that are ready to be activated and pop off. And so you just want to be very mindful of that. I feel like the past 6 to 8 weeks I've been saying that because it's just so true within the energy. There's a lot of irritation. There's a lot of triggers coming up for everybody and in many different ways. And it's important when those happen to really sit with that and figure out the source, because it's like a karmic, I almost want to say like just like a karmic blip for you, a karmic knot, something that needs to be massaged or worked out or worked through for you. There's a nugget of truth. There's a golden ticket in there for you somewhere if you're willing to sit with that and allow it to come up so you can feel it. And that's not fun. It definitely isn't. But it is ultimately what brings you towards the healing, right? And that's what Leo, the sign of Leo, which today's the full moon in Leo, Leo's all about the heart. It's very heart-centered. So specifically today, tomorrow, we're going to be feeling like this essence of wanting to express ourselves, wanting to express our truth. And Mercury is stationing retrograde tomorrow on January 30th. So I'm not telling you don't express yourself. Just make sure that when you express yourself, that you practice the pause and that it's coming from a heart-centered space and not just from a thought pattern that is ingrained within you that may not be working anymore. Speaking of that, since we are under full moon energy right now, it's a great time to release, to work on releasing those patterns, those habits, those beliefs, anything that's holding you back for shining in your own brilliance, because that's also Leo. Shining in your own brilliance and owning your own truth, bringing that to the group, the collective, which is Aquarian energy. And I said I wasn't going to make this a full moon video, but now here we are talking about it, but it's the truth. This is where we're at right now. This is where we're at today. And with Mercury retrograde, it's just a 3-week period of potential blunders and miscommunications. It does not mean that it's going to happen, although we do typically see it play out, as you know, depending on what part of the world you're in. There was a lot of internet outages all across a specific span for all of yesterday, and it's still going on today. And there's definitely been some glitches with Zoom and emails and a lot of technological blunders that I've seen happening on my end. And yes, I know obviously Mercury is going retrograde, stationing retrograde officially tomorrow. So not surprising. So those do happen, and they are more ramped up at this time. But it doesn't mean you can't send an email, or you can't travel, or you can't, like I said, you can't sign a document. Of course you can do all those things. Just make sure you're being more mindful. Mercury is of the mind. It is the sign of the mind, the mental energy. It is the way that we connect to others through conversation, okay? Giving and receiving, listening, not only talking to talk, but actually really, really listening to what others have to say and using that to integrate our own energy. It's very, very helpful to try and be more and more self-reflective when in groups, especially because Aquarius is the sign that rules over groups. So when in a group, pay attention to how is your energy. Do you tend to shrink back, or do you tend to go all out, right? Shrinking back or all out. That's what you would want to work through and figure out, is that really how you are? Is that really how you want to be? Do you feel like that's something you would like to change about yourself or work more on to be more of one way or the other? So this is a good time to actually reflect and go inward. That's why I like Mercury retrograde, because you reflect and you go inward. And it's almost like you've got that 3-week period from the heavens, from the cosmos, that are saying, yes, we support this, because everything else is kind of spinning around us faster and faster. Mercury's a very fast planet. So it's the fastest planet, in fact. And, we just want to be more conscious of what we're doing and where we're going to avoid miscommunications or any kind of accident or doing the wrong thing or saying the wrong thing, that if only we had stopped and practiced that pause, we would not have done that, right? Also, Mercury rules the nervous system, the nerves, the lungs, the chest area. So again, make sure you're just taking some time for some quiet reflection to quiet the mind, some meditation, some soft music, whatever it is that you can do to help yourself get, centered and really sit with your thoughts, your thought process. How are you speaking to yourself? Also very important at this time. Mercury rules both Gemini and Virgo. So if you are a Gemini or a Virgo by sun, moon, rising, or any of your other important planets, well, they're all important. Any of your other planets and placements are very mercurial or Gemini and Virgo, you will likely feel this energy that much more, the retrograde that much more. And it may really mess with your emotions because you may be feeling like you want to act out in a way you normally wouldn't. Just know that as the retrograde gets going and then passes, it won't feel as severe for you, okay? Now, speaking of Gemini, Mr. T, I call him Mr. T. I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to get banned from YouTube because it seems to be happening. Mr. T is a Gemini. Mr. T started signing papers from what I read, or actually from what I heard, right at the pre-shadow of Mercury retrograde, which I find interesting. And that will still be continuing through the Mercury retrograde. And Mercury is a time where we revisit things and we revise them and we reevaluate them, which I think I said this in the beginning of the video and I'm repeating myself, so I'm sorry if I am. But he's also a Gemini, so that's kind of interesting. So I'd be curious to see how this plays out. Well, we're all curious to see how this is going to play out. But anyway, that's just another fun fact. I thought that was kind of interesting and neat to see how, I'm not saying that the stars totally govern and dictate everything that goes on down here. However, I am kind of saying that they do. So anyway, take really good care of yourselves as always. It's important to know that the nervous system is ramped up. It's not just from the Mercury retrograde, but also we've got a lot of Uranus going on this whole entire year. And Uranus also gets our nervous systems like fried. Like we could really feel like burning the candle at both ends. And so you want to don't allow yourself to spin out and burn out. That's the point. You just want to make sure you take those warning signs. Like if you start to get that feeling, like I know for me, when I'm run down, it starts in my throat always right away. Like I'll start, I can feel like my glands get swollen, and I know that that's usually when I'm about to hit the wall. And that is when I'll say, nope, I got to pull back, take care of myself, 2 or 3 days of more self-care, hot liquids, whatever it is that I need to do to kind of kick that out of me. And it usually, knock on wood, usually helps. But, so just notice the signs for you. Everybody's body is different. You know when you're too fried, right? You know when you're burning out. You know when you're spinning your wheels. And yes, of course, I understand that life is happening and things are going on inside of our own personal lives that we cannot stop, unfortunately, from happening and from making us stressed out. That's just life. But we can try to recognize those warning signals and make it a point, make it a priority to really take care of yourself when your body is screaming that it needs to be taken care of. I've been working with quite a few people lately that are burning out, and I understand the mental anguish that comes along with having to actually pull back when you get forced to pull back and take care of yourself because you weren't listening to the warning signs. So it's kind of counterintuitive, but you should, when you get those flashes where you're like, I need to pull back my energy, but I can't have this deadline. When you avoid that, you actually end up getting hit worse later on. So it's important to try to balance that out. Everyone is guilty of that, right? But anyway, overall, I mean, the fixed signs are probably not only Gemini and Virgo, they always feel all retrogrades because of the Mercury being their ruler, right? Their planetary ruler. And it's not just, by the way, the sun sign of Gemini and Virgo, it's also moon rising signs that will feel that. But also the fixed signs are really going to feel this retrograde because like I mentioned, we've got a lot of the planets are in fixed energy, Aquarius, Taurus, Leo right now with the moon, but mostly Aquarius and Taurus. So again, there's that element of, fixed. It's like stubborn. It's rooted. And, Aquarian energy is also stubborn and Mercury is also stubborn and everybody wants what they want. So again, it's important to remain try to remain as open-minded and in your heart center as possible. I hope that this helps. Take really good care of yourselves, and I'll talk to you all real soon. Bye.